Okay, guys, today we are going to go over the LinkedIn Social Selling Index in a little bit more depth. And your social selling index is how you rate amongst people that are using the platform on LinkedIn. This is not a premium feature. This is something that anyone can access regardless of whether or not you have access to Sales Navigator. So how you access this is definitely through a computer, like laptop, desktop. Open up a tab in your browser and make sure that you are signed in to your LinkedIn account. So as we are over here, we are signed in to Melissa's LinkedIn account. Then you want to open up a new tab and go to linkedin.com/sales/SSI. So SSI for Social Selling Index. And then the score that you see here is yours. Sometimes I think people hop on this page and they think like, what is this? This isn't me. It is you. So this will show us how we can improve our social selling index score. And what that will do for you is allow you to make more connections on the platform. Currently, as this video is being recorded, you can connect without having a social selling index score above 70 with about 100 people per week. If you have your social selling index score at 70 or above, you're able to connect with up to 200 people. So as this gets bigger, the proportion of the amount of people that you can connect with gets bigger. So the relationship is parallel. So if this number goes up, I can connect with more people. So we're going to go over a little bit about what you can look at here and how you can get this number to improve so that you can connect with more people. Now, I will say that I think 100 is completely significant, but if you feel like you need to connect with more people, this is definitely something worthwhile to go for. I also think that the higher the score is, the better your place in the LinkedIn algorithm is going to be. So if you have a score of like 10 or 20, I think LinkedIn is going to see you as not using the platform effectively. So the more effectively you can use the platform, the more LinkedIn is going to show your post to more people. So the very, very, very best way, without me even going into any of these individually, way for you to improve your social selling index score is to use the LinkedIn productivity checklist that's in your modules daily. So if you're doing that, you are going to improve your score. So I'll go over each of these individually so I can kind of show you what they mean and how you can improve each one. But using that productivity checklist is how you're going to improve your score. And I think a lot of us, we're doing something, usually something really well, right? Maybe we're posting consistently, but then we're not growing our network. Or maybe we're growing our network, but we're not going out and engaging. So truly all of the things that are on the productivity checklist are more effective when you are working on all of them. So what these numbers show you here. So that if you had a team with more than one person, it would show, most of us is probably just going to show 1 out of 1 because we're our own team. This is how you rank in your industry. So the industry that you've chosen for your LinkedIn profile, where you rank in that industry. So Melissa's in 2%. This actually just went down from 70 to 69. So this is something that we'll, as a team, have to work on getting back up. So this is how you rank in your network. So the people that you're connected with. So we are at 7% here. So I just want to also say here that I'm showing you these numbers, and these numbers may be significantly higher than yours. So just remember how long Melissa's been on the platform. But know that truly, if you start doing some of the things that I'm going to tell you here today and doing that LinkedIn productivity checklist, this number will start to improve quickly. This is not something that you really have to worry about it just stagnating, but it should improve quickly. Some of these things are harder to improve than others, but for the most part, this is something that it's easy to move the needle. So there's 4 pieces of this. So we have establish your professional brand, find the right people, engage with insights, and build relationships. So we'll go over these one by one. So establish your professional brand. You can click on all these and it's going to give you a little synopsis. But first thing, make sure your profile is completely done. Like it's not prompting you and telling you that you're like 70% complete or whatever. You know, make sure that you're 100%. Most of you, I would say this is not something that is a worry for you. You are at 100%. The second part of this is become a thought leader by publishing meaningful posts. Well, that's definitely easier said than done. So how does LinkedIn measure meaningful posts? Through engagement. So if people are engaging with your posts or sharing your posts or even just stopping on your posts and boosting your impressions, that is what is going to contribute to this number going up. I think that this number, obviously for Melissa, this is something that we do really well. So a lot of times we're publishing content that is getting a lot of interaction. So for you, this may be a difficult one to move the needle on. So you may want to focus on other things, but you know, as I've said many, many times, the most important thing that you can do on LinkedIn is put out content that people want to engage with. So that should always be your number one goal. The next piece of this is finding the right people. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But again, easier said than done because a lot of us are kind of still discovering who that is. So how LinkedIn judges if you've found the right people is if those people engage with your content. So if your people are not engaging with your content, you are likely going to have a lower score here. So another way that you can look at this, because Melissa's score is, I would say, pretty low here, right? Out of a score of 25 possible, probably for each of these, it's definitely pretty low. And this is the one exception where I can see going through your old connections and removing some of them. Because if your old connections are never going to interact with your content, it is better to have a ratio of people that is more on the side of potentially interacting with your content. Now, Melissa has a huge network, and this is where this is coming obviously to bite her a bit, right? Because she's connecting with all sorts of people. But if I have 10,000 people in my network and only 300 of them are consistently engaging, that's not a good balance there. We want to make sure that our network is smaller and filled with people that are engaging with our posts. So if you're thinking, well, I'm going to go in and just disconnect with everybody, you can. And I think that makes sense for people that are getting engagement on their content, at least a little bit, right? So for us, it might be a good idea for Melissa to go in and weed out some of her connections. But if you are not putting out content that is hitting the mark with people, meaning getting engagement, I would focus on that first and then worry about disconnecting with other people. So this next one is a lot more tricky. So engage with insights. So discover and share conversation-worthy updates to create and grow relationships. For me, what this really means is it's all about your My Network page. So if you come over here to your LinkedIn profile and then you click on My Network, ideally this should be filled with people for you to follow, people that you can connect with, potentially groups you may be interested in. And I know a lot of us, when we look at this page, we're like, yuck, this is not anything that I want. So the idea is that the more you use the platform in a way that LinkedIn can recognize who your ideal client is and what you're looking for, and this definitely takes time, the better these suggestions are going to be. So yeah, I think just overall, this is probably the hardest because this is going to take the most time. And if you are connecting with people that have absolutely nothing to do with what it is that you're doing, which, you know, I mean, in full transparency, Melissa does that a lot during her launches. This number is going to be low and it's going to be difficult to get up. So I feel like I've been spouting a lot of things that are negative and more difficult, but one of the easiest ways that you can get your profile or your social selling index score up is through building relationships. This is definitely the easiest. You'll notice a bump right away when you start doing this. This is why I mentioned the LinkedIn checklist. So engaging with people in your network and building your relationships and creating conversation. So going engaging on influencers posts, going to people in like engaging with things in your feed as they come through. And you can kind of do double duty here by engaging specifically with what you want to see more of. I've said this a million times. I'll keep saying it, that you should only engage with what you want to see more of. So if daily you're going in and scrolling through your feed for maybe 10 to 15 minutes and engaging with things, leaving comments, not just liking. You know, just liking a post is going to carry a different weight than actually commenting on the post. That's considered more engagement when you are actually commenting. So, and then you're going to get even more bonus points if you leave a comment and then somebody replies to that comment, right? Because you're keeping the conversation going. So the building relationships part is the easiest way, in my opinion, to get this score up. So that's just a little bit of an overview on how you can increase this score. But again, I just want to reiterate that the most important thing you can do on the platform that will help boost all of these really is to create content that people want to see and people want to engage with, which takes a lot of research, time, effort, all of those things, and figuring out what it is that your people really want to see and getting out of our own heads. Because a lot of times we're just creating stuff that we think people want to see, but where the work really happens and where things really start moving for you is when you can figure out what your people want to see, and then you create content based on that. So, you know, I've mentioned many times going to the Google search bar and figuring out what your people are typing in there. So starting to type a couple of words and then seeing what Google predicts for you. So if I typed in like leadership, what are the words that come after leadership? Are those topics that you could use in your posts? Because then you're going to be answering what people have the most questions about. Melissa mentioned the other day the website answerthepublic.com. If you go there, you can see the questions that people have in your industry. That's a great place to make content. So I know that when we're trying to sell our offers and we are trying to, you know, bring money into our business, it's difficult to not write about things that would move that forward. But if we actually start building relationships on the platform by putting out content that people want to see, it is going to improve the bottom line financially in your business. So if you guys have any questions, again, make sure that you submit them for office hours or the strategic advisory.